Blog Talk Radio.
Frank sent us.
Did you bring a horse for me?
Looks like we're shy of one horse.
You brought two too many.
Yes, indeed. Ho, ho, ho. December 26th, show number 86. Good evening. Welcome to another edition, the after Christmas first day of Kwanzaa Boxing Day edition of Soul Tree Radio in the Raw. I'm your host, Michael-Louis Ingram, DJ Hunnycomb, and as always, it is good to be in the house with you tonight. Hopefully everybody's night was not so silent because there was a lot of good stuff waiting for them under respective trees, etc., etc. Soul Tree Radio on the Raw, brought to you by the Black Athlete Sports Network. Roland Rogers, our CEO. Blog Talk Radio, our friends at 1450 WCLM AM, the soul of Richmond. Cowboy Reggie and I'm out there riding the range and acting strange. Our colleagues up at Buffalo, New York at WUFO 1080 The Mix AM. Pat Freeman, the mighty Obot, may his tribe increase. And company up there trying to do good work for the citizens of Buffalo and Western New York with the stadium issue. Our friends at Guardian Caps, Leonard Hansen and Mike Feely. And you guys for being so patient with us as we have continued to have to be flexible with our show structure. And also our colleague and friend Anthony Johnson, who does his thing on Blog Talk every Thursday night at 9 p.m. with the Anthony Johnson Show. Now, having said that, riding shotgun for us tonight, just back from hitting the books and all those other good things like that, taking her role as grandmama quite seriously to her babies, Celestial Walden Kelly. What's up, Celeste?
Hey, Grandpa, what's up?
Oh, doing well, Begum. and riding the range as we speak, as previously stated, whose team just lost last week. Cowboy Reggie. Cowboy Reggie in the house.
I'll turn nothing but my call down. Happy holidays to the crew.
Happy holidays to you. That's a strong brother. That's a strong brother.
Yes, I know. We'll cure him of that cowboy. We'll lay the hands on him and cure him of that cowboy disease one time before the season's up.
I got some tasty cakes for you.
All right, we like that because I know there's going to be there'll be a lot more tasty cakes for us to eat after we get rid of Andy Reid's behind. But that's a separate subject on the show tonight. And now, Reggie, I'm glad you popped up when you did because I want to open up with this story that I just picked up. Now, apparently, as we speak, and over in China, they just finished a high-speed rail link.
Sure did.
From Beijing to Guangzhou. Now, the reason I said that is because the route from Beijing to Guangzhou, and forgive me all my Asian brothers and sisters out there if I didn't say that correctly, is equidistant to the distance between Seattle, Washington, and San Diego, California. Now, that Seattle-San Diego trip is down the I-5 corridor, which is almost akin to the I-1 corridor or 95 corridor as you go east to west from Boston all the way down to Miami. But having said that, roughly the distance, I guess, is about the same. Because of their high-speed rail link, they can get anybody from Beijing to Guangzhou in 8 hours. With the trains doing roughly 190 miles an hour. And that's pretty much, there's been a constant with the technology for a while, ever since the TGV, the chronography tests, had the trains designed in Paris. And, of course, the bullet trains in Japan that can do even better. But that same distance takes 5 times longer if we're going by train in the United States. So the obvious begs here. It's not that we don't have the technology, because Amtrak has a piece of this with the Acela line running from Boston to D.C. Now, you ain't doing 180, but you go by in a fairly decent clip, and it's a shorter amount of time. But, having said that, those Chinese citizens can get from Beijing to Guangzhou spending about $140. It cost us about $200 one way to go that same distance from Seattle to San Diego. So, Reggie, since transportation is part of what you do for a living, try to break that down to everybody in terms of dollars and cents. If you had faster trucks or better roads, how much of a difference would that make in you doing your job?
Well, to see the sad thing about it, you might have fast trucks and better roads, but still something called tolls. But we're fighting here in Virginia. And see, the sad thing about it, you go to Maryland, and Lord have mercy, you guys know about the Jersey, Jersey Turnpike. You can go as fast as you want on the roads, but guess what? If you got to hit them tolls, that's hitting your pocketbook. That's hitting freight. Out loud, that rolls over. And see, in Virginia, they even trying to get a high-speed rail where President Obama tried to put dollars into that. And the sad thing about it is, again, I'm not an expert on this, but I can tell you one thing. The politicians, every time something makes sense, they get in there and screw it up. So that's the problem right there, the politicians.
No, I think your opinion has some weight in this. And into the mix, we throw in our resident professor here. Dr. Fred Witt is in the mix. Fred, as always, good evening to you, brother.
Good evening.
Now,
happy holidays to all.
Yes, indeed. Now, because this is the first day of Kwanzaa and unity is in effect, and for our Canadian and friends our Canadian friends and friends abroad in Europe and whatnot, Boxing Day, apparently the day after Christmas, and I have to say this so that everybody gets the clarification. Boxing Day is a rather cool holiday because I had to make sure I looked it up so that the shit was correct. Apparently, the upper crust used to bring their stuff down to poorer folks the day after Christmas. Now, accordingly, Canada adopted this to some variation. In Northern Ireland, it's considered a special day all by itself. But now it's kind of morphed into the Canadian and British version of Black Friday. So now they go crazy up there buying cheap TVs and shit like that on this particular day, like we used to do the day after Thanksgiving down here. So unfortunately, the more some things change, the more they stay the same. But we wanted to recognize and say happy to everybody there. But Fred, to get back to where we started here, we were talking about infrastructure and how the Chinese now have mastered the bullet train technology, and now they can go long distances in shorter amounts of time because they invested in their infrastructure. Now, again, you're in a state where that's always been in flux as well as everywhere else. Who can't tell you how much money would be saved if there were high-speed rail to service not just the entire country, but be regionalized to help speed up production of goods and services and get people from point A to point B with a lot less hassle?
Well, we're in a battle in North Carolina now just to get, quote, high-speed rail from Charlotte across to Raleigh, and all before it was always the fault of the Democrats because they were the ones in power. They were the ones who could have made the decision. They were the ones who screwed the decision up. Now it's in the hand of Republicans, and from all signs, they're more interested in guns in the classroom than they are in building infrastructure. And, that's the thing. That was one of the things that the president has suggested. This is part of the way that we came out of the Great Depression, well over half a century ago. This is how we kept things going after World War II because they built the interstate system.
Yep.
Now, why all these brilliant people who are in power, and it doesn't matter the party because they're both missing the boat.
For everybody who doesn't know, Fred, before you go any further, what is the actual distance between Charlotte and Raleigh-Durham, and how would a high-speed rail cut that time-wise?
It's a little over 100 miles.
Okay.
High speed could do it in an hour, easy. When you talk about it doesn't even have to be what we refer to as a bullet train, so to speak. You just have to be able to isolate the railway so that you can go faster than you normally would, currently.
Mm-hmm.
And and they can't even come to a conclusion to, they can't do what's necessary to get that done. It's the old, well, he'll shoot, great idea, not in my backyard. But, it's just like we had a situation here at Pope Air Force Base several years ago, and we had F-16s and A-10s here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the terms about that you military guys use about certain types of aircraft, they call it a shit and get. This means when you hear them, they've already hit you, and they're going away from you. And that was the F-16. Those guys will go off Pope Hill in a full burn, and everybody's all the noise. Listen, when you heard the noise, they were out of the county. By the time you heard the noise, they were almost out of the state. Where's the noise? I mean, these things came off and were into a full burn. You heard them maybe 2 minutes max. And after 2 minutes, the whole squadron is gone. Mm-hmm. These things cruise at Mach 2. That's 1,200 miles an hour.
Yep.
And they're talking about, well, we don't want all that noise. Well, those guys, some people complain enough, and eventually they move both of them. And you're talking about guys whose starting pay salary is like $60,000 a year, plus the support team of maybe 30, 40 guys per plane, that kind of stuff. Those guys make $25, $30 a year. Now, you talk about the go back to the whole thing with the high-speed rail.
Yep. You're
talking about being able to get from Charlotte to D.C. in 2 hours, maybe.
Yep.
We were talking about, well, with the stops maybe 3, but we're talking about just below flight status.
Mm-hmm.
And you're able to do this. You can live in Charlotte and work in D.C.
There you go.
Now,
that's a good point Fred brought up, Celeste. Commuting is always an issue. We deal with commuting all the time because of proximity to New York City and Philadelphia. If commuting could be made faster, and because it's faster, it's cheaper, the obvious question is, why hasn't it been done sooner? So the politics notwithstanding, as we continue our series of dollars incensed, that people are angry about how the government has been spending our money, high-speed rails in terms of you making your life easier, what would high-speed rail do for you and your family?
Oh, please. The way I travel, Amtrak should be my middle name. I'm always up and down the corridor, D.C., Philadelphia, Boston. But it's pretty easy. It's easy to understand what the problem is. And China is easy. China says this will be done, and it's done.
Exactly.
2 different countries, okay? Here, Amtrak has a small subsidy from the U.S. government, which has been cut back and back and back. Our tracks are old. After this last storm, we had tracks in the New York area totally washed away.
That's right.
Okay, but still it comes down to the government not wanting to subsidize what they feel is a private entity, blah, 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 blah. Excuse me. But until we get back to what you spoke about earlier, about how we transitioned from World War II, how we built the infrastructure, that's what it's going to have to come down to. It's going to take a major bridge collapsing, a major train disaster, something of that nature for the government to move, because that's the only way they take action. And an example is the latest tragedy with the guns.
Right.
Now everybody wants, gun control. The government doesn't act until something major happens. But as far as commuting, Mike, what it's like getting on the D train in New York and riding from downtown, uptown.
Yep.
I could be in Philadelphia, okay, riding that train. But it still comes down to the government seeing it, what's in it for me?
Yep.
You want to take people off of welfare and unemployment, you give them a job.
Exactly.
I mean, it's very simple, but the government, our government right now is caught up in what's it going to do for me.
Yeah.
They don't
what's
care
worse,
about my commute.
And what's worse, we're paying them to screw us.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, our taxes are paying for these guys that crap that they pulled, and I'm going to Reggie on this, the crap that they pulled that last week where Boehner comes up with some fake-ass plan B to jerk people around and then uses his bully pulpit to get out there and say what the president is and isn't doing and still not respect him, calling him Obama and whatnot, like he would call him nigger. And then when push comes to shove, he bitches up, and I forget who the other one was there, not Boehner, but the other little creep. Eric Cantor.
Eric Cantor.
Oh,
Virginia.
Oh
yeah,
you know,
we're close for business.
Well.
We just wanted to bitch slap him, and we're close for business. You know, hey, motherfucker, you should have been gone a long time ago. We needed to vote his ass out, but you got enough stupid people out there who are blinded by this nonsense, or either their situation was set up so they couldn't lose regardless of how the outcome of the election was. But to where we started with the infrastructure deal, Reggie's driving these roads and whatnot, and he's paying tolls and all of that. But you know what? If there was high speed, he could still drive those roads, but there would be people there building tracks all over again. There would be people doing construction. There would be people working in ancillary roles, like feeding those construction workers. I mean, we're talking about the whole spiraling off where jobs make other jobs, and there, all of a sudden, the economy can get better by doing something we should have been doing all along, which is simple maintenance of what we already had. But now we're talking having to tear shit up and replant it or rebuild it and whatnot. And the missing element here that we don't see in China or Japan or anywhere else is, do we have not just the technology, but the workforce that can implement this technology straight away? Sure, people want to work, but do they have enough expertise in the proper, fields to make the thing go?
Yeah, Mike, they do, because I can tell you up in Northern Virginia, they have an express lane that you got to have an easy pass to go through. I mean, the last 3 or 4 years, when Republicans were blocking the bill in order to get infrastructure, matter of fact, remember they had a couple of bridges a couple of years ago in the Midwest that did fall down.
I was getting ready to go into that. That's right, Minnesota specifically, yeah.
Yeah, and during the earthquakes, remember out in California?
Yeah.
I mean, so it has already happened. And the follow-up to that, you've had companies out here back in the day that used to get silent bids, but now you have guys coming in getting the cheap labor. And even if you drive these roads right now, the roads are not even quality like they used to be. Why? Because they're making cheap material. That's why they got every summer. You see those guys out there with that plow plowing up the road and putting them right back down because the material they use is cheap.
Yeah, so it's like make work. They're not building it to a set standard that makes it built to last. And I'm glad you said it, because I was going to go to Fred on this, because as Celeste was saying, they need a bridge to fall down. Well, a bridge already fell down. We had a bridge in Minnesota fall down, and it wasn't an old bridge in comparisons to some of the bridges that have been around, like the Brooklyn Bridge and Walt Whitman and all these others. This was a bridge that was recently built in terms of age of this, and it just fell apart and collapsed. And nobody jumped up and said, all right, enough of this. We're going to create an emergency fund, infrastructure. We're doing this now. The state of Minnesota did this, and they got emergency funds from the government, but they didn't essentially go and say, we got to make like Mighty Mouse and save the day here.
Well, the problem with what happened in Minnesota, if you think back, especially when it's along the East Coast, remember I-95, somewhere, I want to say in Connecticut or the New York, Connecticut area. I remember when I saw it, this has been some years ago, but this section of I-95, one of the overpasses there just collapsed onto the highway below. Okay. And this because when I was in school, I used to work up there in from New York, Connecticut, out of New Rochelle. And, I don't think anybody got hurt in that particular one, but when you look at the potential disaster potential there, somebody needs to wake up and sniff the coffee because whatever they're sniffing already is not working.
You got that right.
You got. And it doesn't matter the state because when you go online and you see some of the news investigations that have gone on. You name a highway. I think 74 is there's a 73, 74. I think is the newest in North Carolina as far as interstates go. Well, you look at 85, 95, 40 in North Carolina. 77, any given day, you could possibly, and a friend of mine tells me, watch what I say because it happens. But the sad thing is, you look, from time to time you see these reports where they have gone onto these bridges. They got, it was built to last forever. The concrete is off the metal. You can see exposed metal. You see pieces of concrete laying in the road every so often. And it's from nowhere. And these dipsticks are out there talking about being conservative. And I say, I wish I could just say, well, it's the Democrats or the Republicans. No, it's both bunch of
both of them.
Balls.
Yeah, it is both of them.
Nobody has the guts to do what's necessary to fix the problem because and they forget that in the process of doing this, you not only make lives better by providing jobs, you make lives better because this is somebody who's not particularly going to be disabled or dead.
That's exactly right. Hey, it's funny, Celeste, you were talking about the D train. I remember when in New York City they had to repair the Manhattan Bridge. And for those who don't know, the Manhattan Bridge runs parallel with the Brooklyn Bridge in going between New York and Brooklyn. But what makes the Manhattan Bridge different is that it's a rail link for the city subway lines. And you have about 6 or 7 of the city subways running along the same line as the bridge. And this is some serious shit because stuff was falling off, literally falling off the Manhattan Bridge. And somebody said, well, you know what, we're going to have to fix this. So for over a year and a half, traffic was rerouted on that bridge for the subway. Now, when you consider that's a tremendous amount of weight when you think of the size of the subway trains, in addition to the normal traffic going across there, the potential for a disaster that would have made anything that Irwin Allen ever made look pale by comparison was a very, very real thing. And although we saw a bridge fall in Minnesota, and as Brother Gray is in the chat room as well, and out there where Gary is, we know the bridge fell and there was an earthquake out there that caused bridges to collapse right before the World Series started that year. I think it was A's against the Giants, I'm not sure. But the bottom line in the whole deal was nobody woke up and said, we have to fix this.
But
they were... Go ahead.
I'm sorry. The difference is, yes, bridges have fallen. I mean, some of them caught on fire. I mean, it's been some major things happen. There's been major accidents on some of the roadways. And I don't know which accident it was, but it set a bridge on fire. It was so hot that the metal began to melt on the bridge. But the way we do things with tragedy in this country, many people killed by assault weapons in this country.
Yep.
But it wasn't until the babies got killed that everybody jumped up and said, "Oh, we have to do something about it." We need a major disaster movie type action thing, a major bridge in the middle of a major rush hour, or everybody's going to the Super Bowl, or something crazy has to happen.
No, you're right.
And then they'll say, "Oh my God, the infrastructure." That's what's going to happen.
You're right.
Go ahead.
No, I say you're right, because even after Sandy did its damage, you'd have thought everybody would have been falling all over to give money to do whatever the amount is.
Republicans have blocked the bill.
Exactly. Those sons of bitches went and blocked the bill. Now, never mind what they saw. Never mind all the damage, especially that those people in Staten Island went through and how up against it they were in the Rockaways out there in Queens. They didn't give a shit about them because when everything quieted down, all of a sudden these same Dick Dastardly mofos that we pay our tax money to, who get their salaries from us, said we can't allow for the funding. We can't allow for the funding. This is unbelievable. And
New York
what's
Housing
worse,
went and put eviction notices on the people's doors who hadn't been able to get out of the buildings because there was no electric. They put eviction notices. Craziness.
But nobody on mainstream radio or television has said, what the hell are you doing here? And that's the other side of the coin. Yeah. No, I'm serious. At this point, because I'm an independent buyer.
No, Charlie.
No, you're right. No, you're right.
No,
you're right.
That wasn't Charlie.
But Reggie's premise is right because I don't affiliate with any party, and I've seen enough of this shit to know that both of these bastards, both parties, are liable for this bullshit. And whatever reason they use to back their warped logic, we know that they're bought and paid for by somebody. Whether it's a gun lobby, whether it's a tobacco lobby, whether it's somebody's lobby of an office building. It's enough that's not. It's antithetical to the purpose of why they were hired in the first place.
Well, they may want to do
Mike, but in Virginia, I can tell you about Philip Mars. They went down to Dr. Whittown of North Carolina. They told the people in Virginia 20 years ago that, look, we rerouting down to North Carolina because we get a better tax break, and also the workers down there are going to get a raise. Well, guess what? They shut Philip Mars down, and all of a sudden they started importing to China. And also a tidbit to this, the Woodrow Wilson Bridge. They even showed on TV how they built it down somewhere, floated the barges up, and rebuilt it, and then tore the other one down. The original Woodrow Bridge, when they opened it up, they had to figure out how they were going to put the lanes in. On one lane, they said, oh, God, we got to figure this out, because we didn't have a way to open this one lane. This was the new bridge.
Sure.
It's about Woodrow Wilson.
And let's remember, during the campaign, bridges that were in the areas that were McConnell's and Boehner's and Canner's that were either failing or in poor shape or needed they were highlighted, all in their districts. And when the cameras came in their direction, what few times happened, nothing was said about it. It was all considered some sort of campaign ploy. But God forbid, if that bridge had fell in Cincinnati, somebody would have been crying like a bitch, and people would have died behind some BS. And where would Boehner be? Somewhere in front of a microphone with a spray orange tan? I don't think so.
I tell you, it'd have been like in Virginia. We had an earthquake. Eric Cantor and our governor saying that we don't need government, but as soon as the earthquake hit, he was the first one saying we need money. Talk about hypocrite. Now, I'm not trying to slam no party, but this is the game plan they play.
Yeah, well, when they blocked the bill because, it was mainly Northeast, the heavy damage. But now this weekend or yesterday we had tornadoes rip through the South. I bet you now they're going to be saying, oh, we need money. Come help us.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Rain FEMA. We need it. Rain FEMA.
Yep. Get in line. But
Reggie, are you talking about FEMA that some of these clowns were talking about eliminating?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
remember
sir.
that. That's right.
Yes, sir. The main ones, like I said, Eric Cantor crying for him and the governor, McDonald's. They're the main ones talking about we don't need government. Well, what happens if that house get torn down? What happens if your house is torn down? You'd be the first one bitching and crying for government to come in and help.
That's right. That's right. They just like atheists when the stuff hits the fan. They go, oh, Jesus, help me. Oh, Lord.
Exactly.
They sure did. Oh, I can't take that cancer. They looking at, the government needs to come and help and do this. I'm like, what? Wait a minute. What happened to states' rights? Everything changed up.
Well, see, the whole thing about states' rights.
Good,
the whole thing about states' rights is really such a farce because the people who are most affected, and this is where it really gets sad, about people who, in today's environment, there's not a lot of people who can't read. But there are a lot of them who don't. And it doesn't, in waiting for mainstream media to could bring you information is probably the dumbest thing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're bought and paid for like anybody else is.
Exactly.
And when you look across the board at all these folks who call themselves conservatives, to include a whole slew of white folks who think this is it. Really, they call themselves slamming the president, not understanding. You want to do away with white welfare because it supports all the Negroes, not understanding there are far more white folk on welfare than there will ever be black. Far more. And see, we're back to that whole scenario in the South, talking about states' rights, which really meant we got to protect slavery.
That's exactly right.
How many guys, and you see how many Bubbas you see walking around with all these stars and bars on the front of their pickup trucks and stuff. Who's so proud of their great-great-grandpappy, and all them people who fought for the Confederacy. And, the truth be known, they couldn't afford no slaves. They were slaves themselves.
There you go.
Don't let the facts get away with the argument.
See, these are the kinds of things that are out there in our society where people are so passive when it comes to getting information, doing something about, getting involved in politics, letting people come tell them how they should vote. Like I said, I worked at the polls, and I literally had folks come to my poll and got mad at me because I wouldn't tell them how they were supposed to vote. And I'm thinking, at that time, it was a 5 to 7 year prison sentence for doing that. It caused part of the electioneering law,
right?
And it's the federal law. And they don't do paroles and all that kind of stuff in the federal system. So I'm thinking, you must be out of your darn mind. You think I'm gonna stand here and tell you, and I really don't know you no way, and I'm gonna stand here and tell you how to vote. You done lost, you done lost your biscuit as far as I'm concerned. I am not going to do that. But people came to the polls that are prepared, and there were black folks and white folks out there who took full advantage of them.
Sure.
And in the process, these people sold their vote for a fart because they shouldn't get anything out of it. And see, when you look at the people who are out here doing all these kind of things, and you say, well, how do we get away with it? Okay, in politics, in between polling and all other tools that are used to run political campaigns and whatnot, you can either do good estimates or you actually know these fools are going to go, as soon as this election is over, these fools are going to go back to their nice, comfortable recliners and sit back, sip a beer or whatever, snort something or whatever, and, as long as we tell them which way to point their fingers, they'll do that.
That's right.
And how do they know? They've done it before.
That's right. No, it is true that for every person that seems to be aware and understands the difference between shit and shinola, there's 1,000 people, 500 who don't know shit and 500 who don't know shinola for each one of them. And we're left with a whole bunch of folks who are in the survival mode and they don't have time for the other stuff because it ain't hit their doorstep yet. Now, Reggie, because you do this for a living, how concerned are you? I mean, I'm not trying to get in your head or nothing, but, when you have to do that and you got to depend on the road for your livelihood, how concerned are you about road safety out here?
Well, I mean, you even got Mexicans that can't even read, can't write the English language. And not just Mexicans, you have guys I've run against guys who are from Russia, Poland, China. They can't speak a lick of English. But guess what? They're driving up and down the road. And also they have a law that was passed not too long ago where Mexicans can drive in, bring freight in, and then take freight out. Now, I want you to picture this now. Say they're going out 77 down in Charlotte, because I got to run out Charlotte this coming Sunday anyway to see a family member. But that person, 77, going down to Charlotte, North Carolina, they don't have any license from North Carolina, any license from America. they hit you, and guess what? I'm a little alien. You can't sue me.
There you go. Mm-hmm. That's right.
So let's just go ahead and put the apple where the cord is, and say again that you're talking about free labor coming in. I want to talk about all these trucks coming in that are just falling apart up and down our highways and everything, burning up gas. But yet these guys come right across, taking freight and jobs back across the border. And again, if they hit your family, you can't get a dime from them. They're from Mexico. Try to sue them and see what you get.
That's true. Hey, but you know, the cost effectiveness, and this is where, again, I want to go from the standpoint of, you know, whatever your political party or affiliation is, whatever your color or social status is, everybody understands the dollars and cents of it all. So if it's more cost effective to have a high-speed rail, now I just explained how much it cost those Chinese folks to get from Beijing to Guangzhou. Now, $140, $50 more to go one way on our Amtrak. Now you add up those dollars over the course of just even 3 months, and the money is astronomical. Because you know, while you're on the train, you're eating. While you're on the train, maybe you'll watch a movie or whatever, or maybe you're going there because you can visit family, or maybe, for all I know, Guangzhou might be a resort town. So, you know, Guangzhou might be where shit is happening and whatnot. So we're going to go party down there. We're spending money there. Can you imagine a high-speed train going from Vegas to L.A. or Vegas to anywhere? You know. Yeah.
Hey, Mike. I apologize to interrupt you, but
please.
Do y'all have those Chinese buses up there in New York and Jersey?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Up?
They have them in New York,
definitely.
but I don't get on them.
Same problem that you just talked about. That's the same
now here in Virginia, we had one that a truck accident where it was 8 fatalities. Guess what the people did? As soon as that happened, they shut the company down, changed the name, and then went to another direction. And they tried to sue people. Guess what? The company doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's in Virginia.
It happened up here in Connecticut as well.
They had multiple ones.
Yep. Yeah, multiple ones. Multiple deaths right off of 95. Yep. Guy fell asleep at the wheel. Next thing you know, he's wrapped up around
same thing in Virginia.
a plaster pillar. Yeah.
Or driving on the bridge. The bus is a double-decker, and they're driving underneath the bridge and shearing off the top of the buses. Craziness.
Yeah. Well, we had a similar situation. One of the local television stations did address it not too long ago. And the law allows these guys to basically collapse a company and raise a new company, same address, same equipment, same everything, without, I mean, the ink doesn't have to be dry on their last disaster.
It's true.
And they can come back and, you know, just dump one corporation, start another, same people, I mean, everything. And the gist of it was basically, well, that's a separate entity, so they no longer exist, so you have no recourse, you know, even to their insurance to works. I mean, it's in one of the situations where we've had several accidents here in North Carolina with trucks and buses, and I know this brother owns one of these companies. I remember the hell he went through when one of his buses, well, actually a subcontractor of his, taking one of the local bands to, I want to say, the Disney World 3 years ago. And see, the thing the really thing that got him over the hump really was the way the system worked. But it didn't do anything for the kids who got hurt. A couple of them got killed. You know, it didn't really do anything for them. But, you know, this man had just gone through an inspection, allegedly. All his paperwork was signed and stamped by some government official who happened to miss bad brakes, who happened to miss raggedy tires, who happened to miss several things that should have been more obvious. But then when you have X number of inspectors and you only, and if Reggie drives down in North Carolina from time to time, he knows this better than I do. But, you know, half the time you go past these inspection stations, they're closed.
Yep. Yes, sir.
So,
I've seen them myself.
So who is actually watching the store? Because,
and that's an excellent point, Fred. Yep.
You've laid off everybody that works in the department, or you have other bureaucrats who don't, who are not about to leave their office.
That's
and
right.
Go out and check on nothing, and then by the same token, they're not by job description. That's not their job anyway. So all they do is shuffle papers as come in, and you leave so much of the inspections and to the honesty of the company.
Exactly.
Which is the one that like I used to say, who's watching those you're paying to watch? Well, there's nobody there to watch.
Exactly. That's the scary part about this. You bring up an excellent point. I think what's even worse than total deregulation is the lack of enforcing what's already there. If you don't have inspectors checking up on shit, if you don't have stations where the trucks know they got to pull in so they can check your weight and all the other things that they need to do to look at the truck to make sure the cargo is valid, kosher, whatever the deal is, they're not out there on the road doing that. I've seen those things driving down the highway myself. But more importantly, the fact that they would allow for a company to fold immediately and not be indemnable, because I remember that. I think the company was called Fenghua. Sure, it could be something else, but they had a major accident. Next thing you know, they're Wo Fat or Wo Hop or whatever the hell it is, and they're out there on the road. No policy or guarantee to the people that are on their bus that once you get on here, you take your life in your hands and shit, because we may not know what
Mike,
the fuck we're doing.
Airlines have done it too, Mike. Airlines have done it too.
Sure. No, that's right. That's true. It is part of, but this all, where we're going with this, I hope, is we're talking about a standard that has been diminished largely due to greed and just total ignoring of the fact that when you build something, you got to maintain it as well. The roads could have been in better shape than we would ever imagine them to be if people had just been maintaining them all along with our bridges and everything else that we built. It could have been maintained all along. We allowed it to get to the place where it did because politician after politician of both parties and the occasional independent who slips in there, they didn't give a rat's ass. If it wasn't broke, they weren't going to fix it. And if it was breaking, they weren't going to fix it as long as it didn't break on their watch. So that's where we're left with. We're seeing other countries zoom ahead of us in just about everything, and it's not because we got dumber on purpose. It's because there seems to be an effort to make sure that there's a class thing that comes in place now that's going to affect Americans, in particular those who believe that once upon a time they were middle class. And, the whole middle class thing, we see it shrinking before our very eyes. The politicians see it as just a ploy to make talking points about. But those folks, until that paycheck is gone, or before they realize milk costs more, or diapers cost more, or their real estate taxes went up, or they can't send their kid to college, then all of a sudden everybody's screaming bloody murder.
Well, Mike, I beg to differ about whether it was intentional or not, because back when, I was told if you make the decision not to do something, not to cover certain things, protect yourself from certain things, then you have, if you step in the water, you intend to get wet. Now, if you didn't put on boots, you didn't have a boat or whatever, you step in water, you intended to get wet. So, when you look at where these people call themselves coming from, they're getting where they're intending to go. The problem is they're telling you that's not what I intended. That's just a lie of another kind, really. But when you look at the fact that you got people out there who don't want to pay for nothing, everything. They tell you there's no free ride. Okay, I'll accept it. No, there's no free ride. I'm a business owner. I know there's no free ride. Well, I want to pay as little for everything as I possibly can. Okay, for some things, yes. Now, we're all old enough to remember some older person tell you, child, you're going to get what you pay for. Okay, that's true. Now, when you take it from there and go to, I don't want to pay nothing for bridges, but I want bridges, what you going to get? Crap. What we got? Crap. And because of that, we're where somebody intended us to be. Now, it can be, as you can make it look as malignant as possible or as benign as possible. That doesn't really matter. It's still, we're where somebody wanted us to be in this whole dilemma. Because when you look back, we talk all this conservative stuff from both sides of the aisle, so nobody is immune on this issue.
Right.
Because when you look at the fact that these clowns don't want to pay nothing for nothing, for anything, they want everything for free. Okay, we got bridges, but you're right. You got to maintain them. You got anything, it has to be maintained.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it costs to maintain them, but we don't want to pay for that. Well, what happens when they they're deteriorating whether you maintain them or not. They're going to deteriorate. I mean, that's just a fact of life.
Mm-hmm. But this
we all
goes
can look back at where we used to be, and we know good and darn well we are not what we used to be because life happens.
That's right. No, that's true. But your statement just goes back to where you were touching on regarding how inspectors, people who are entrusted with the premise of maintaining and having a certain standard exist for the general safety of the public comes into the mix. If we have these people on their job, if we know that there's legislation that says every 3 years all the roads and bridges in our district must be inspected, to make sure that they are still holding up, and if something needs to be fixed, it gets fixed now so that it's not a Band-Aid, but it gets taken care of so that it maintains a certain level. We've seen that totally disappear across the country, and nobody has said, well, wait a minute. Now that we know that high-speed technology can exist here, we're not ready for it, not because folks can't do it, but because we don't have track systems that can hold up the trains going 180 miles an hour. And I can tell you from being on a high-speed train, when you get off of those bad boys, you experience a kind of train lag that's similar to jet lag because of the high speed of the train. You just can't get off that bad boy and bop on out and go, taxi. Literally, I had to get off a train in Lyon, and I saw the little cafe there, and I ain't a cafe kind of person, but I said, you know what, that's not a bad idea because my legs was wobbly. I sat the fuck down.
But Mike, in the state of Virginia, I can tell you right now, they have put a notice out in the next 2 years. They put a notice that we're working on road. Matter of fact, if you go straight down 95 through Richmond, they put a big sign saying go 295 because we're doing road work, and that's been over a year.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. It's taking longer than expected. No, but I'm saying it's taking longer than expected. In the mix, I'm going to throw in our colleague Sonic Cheryl. Cheryl, good evening as well.
Good evening. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Happy holidays to all of you.
Cheryl, we started talking about how high-speed technology seems to be elsewhere. China just completed high-speed rail that goes and covers an area that's roughly over 1,500 miles in 8 hours. And that's equidistant roughly to Seattle, going from Seattle down to San Diego. And that can do that in 8 hours and do it cheaper. Right now, if we were all to get on the Amtrak at Seattle, it would take us 40 hours, 1 day and 16 hours to get to San Diego. And I don't know if we would all, unless we had sleepers, I don't know if all of us would be in the best of moods getting off that train with all the aches and pains and shit from trying to get comfortable in them seats. But having said that, it would cost all five of us, and I'll throw Gary in there, all six of us, over $1,000 to sit our asses on those trains for almost 40 hours, and yet those same people in China can spend $50 less and get there in 8 hours in some reasonably good shape, party, do whatever the hell they want to do, and go on back home to Beijing. So, in the midst of all of this, we're asking, what bothers you more? The fact that we already have the talent to do this, or the obvious that the politicians are stonewalling this bullshit, and we've got to tear everything up because we just can't implement it because our track system and because of weather and other natural situations have affected our whole transportation system?
I think I'm more pissed off at Congress because This is something the president has been saying. The roads are deteriorating. The bridges, they don't want to spend no money for that. They want to give the rich people, the richest 2%, tax breaks. But the country is crumbling. We're falling behind technology. As far as technology is, we're falling behind where we were number one in that type of thing. I mean, these are jobs, like the president said, that we need people trained to do that can't do. Because they don't want to spend no money for disenfranchised people from other jobs and train them to do a new job and put them back to work and get them off on the employment line. They don't want to spend money on anything that's going to better us. They want to keep that money with the rich because, let's face it, these senators and stuff get a nice sized salary. They live pretty damn good. They don't want to see me and you. They don't want to see you and I nowhere near where they live and where their kids are. So, then plus, you know, he won again, so we going to fight him tooth and claw. And the problem is these people, including these white folks that think these Republicans are so great, need to get off their asses and protest and call their congressmen and everything else and tell them, this is not what the hell I put you in office for. You are supposed to look out for me. It shouldn't always fall on people of minority because we are the minority, and so our white folks getting to be less than we are. They need to come out of that bubble world they live in and come to reality, because if it was up to Republicans, we wouldn't have shit. Nothing. Well, now, I have to we barely have anything now.
Cheryl, you're 1,000% right.
You got some Democrats acting a fool too now.
That's right, but we saw. Reggie, we saw. That's right, but no, we saw in the election a lot of white folks was tired of that shit, and they were standing on them lines out there in Ohio and Florida and elsewhere. So I give props to them. But to your point, the fact that there isn't any more righteous indignation is what's bothering me. That's what I'm saying. What you're saying times 10. People should be up in arms about this. We shouldn't even be at the point where the mainstream media, because we know they're now already bought and paid for, we should give a rat's ass about what they're saying and say, y'all full of shit. We can't have this nonsense anymore. Get the step in if you're not going to get there and do the people's business, because we're paying for your fucking salary.
We're paying for your lifestyle.
All due respect, Mike, when it comes to education, and I know Dr. Wickman can testify this, we are numb 9-month robots, not to quote Rush Limbaugh, and it's like, do we sit up here and don't get spoon-fed? And there's a lot of people that say, well, I'm going to vote a straight Democrat ticket. I'm going to vote this. I'm going to vote a straight Republican ticket. All I'm saying, again, when it comes to educating our voters about how the election went, they don't even know about the three parties, how the government's run, about the executive branch, judicial branch, and the president. They don't know nothing about that. They just think that, well, I call President Obama, he can do everything. How about you calling your local people in your local state and getting geared? They get things done. They think everything's done for the president. No, it's done on the local level. More is done on the local level than anything's done in Washington.
It's true, Reggie. You've been saying that for a while, and it rings even truer each time you say it. If we don't light a fire under the asses of the local politicians to say, this is what we got you in here for, this is what you promised us. If you didn't do what you were going to do, then you're lying on our asses, and we're going to string your ass up. Get to work, damn it, because you on our nickel. It's not the other way around. You know, it's like trying to say that Social Security is an entitlement and all that other stuff. But as we come to the end of the first hour, I want to take a quick break because Gary Gray is in the house as well. And because this is a time of celebration, we know that people are celebrating, and this is the first day of Kwanzaa, which represents unity as one of the 7 principles, Ngwazaba. And as we exchange discourse here, we know elsewhere there are people celebrating the day.
I love that.
I think Ruby had a little too much eggnog, y'all. Soul Tree Radio in the Raw. DJ Hunnycomb here with my panel of esteemed colleagues, and because we are trying to do this in the interest of equal time, I want to touch on something we touched on the last show. Fred and Gary, as Brother G is in the house with us. To the ladies specifically, I know you're going to love this one. In Iowa, the state Supreme Court ruled 7-0 against a woman who was fired from her job because the husband said she was too fine and she was going to cause a problem.
Say it again, Mike.
That's right.
Y'all missed that one?
The guy was a dentist, and he had this woman working for him, and there was no sexual overtures on her part. But I guess the wife was checking shit out, and she was sizing her up and sizing him up, and I guess he knew enough about himself to say, "Baby, look, you too fine. You got to go. I'm firing your ass." And because this happened in Iowa, which is a right-to-work state, she was fighting, and she lost her fight temporarily, I think, in the state Supreme Court because they said he was within his right because he didn't fire her because of discrimination.
They did discrimination of looking beautiful.
well, there you go,
because he had a problem with his crotch. That's what the problem was.
Oh, shit.
Let's break it down. Okay.
I say.
Let's break it down now.
Every time he turned around, he kept bumping in.
You had to learn how to control yourself, okay?
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Kept hitting that chair.
No, but see now. Hold on, because now
what you say?
I'm not trying to protect him.
Every time he turned sideways, boing.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry, ladies.
Trying to protect you.
Ladies, I'm sorry.
This isn't a
God help
hold
me.
This ain't a baby please moment now. I mean, we got to look at this past this because
Might have been a Viagra moment.
If this had happened in New York or Pennsylvania, we know he couldn't have got away with this shit.
Well, there we had a woman. Wasn't she
was,
a stockbroker or something? And she said she was fired because she was so beautiful or some kind of
that
foolishness.
Was in New York. We touched on that, Celeste. But yeah, she's fighting it in court, so she's got a shot because in large part it is a union stronghold. But the point I was trying to make here is that because it was
poor choice of words, got a shot.
Because
I'm sorry, gang. I'm sorry.
You should have known this would happen.
His heart was in the right place. Stop, Gary. His heart was in the right place, but because
his heart was where?
He wasn't thinking with his heart.
That's right.
I would say he wasn't thinking with his heart, and his wife was definitely thinking with her head because she said, "I'm gonna get this bitch out of here because she ain't fucking with my shit." But having said all of that, the fact that it was a right-to-work state exacerbated everything because it gave him latitude in which to do this. And the premise we made on the show was that, in a right-to-work situation, we can fire your ass for any reason we want. So just as like we can fire you for being too fine, I can fire your ass for being too ugly. Anything I want. I'm the boss.
No, they won't do that because there'll be a lot of work to get done.
Oh, that was a layup. That's come on.
Go ahead, Michael. Just lay him out there, Mike. Just lay him out there.
I'm telling you.
You go, girl. You
and you can stay because you're so ugly. Everybody will work. Now.
Everybody else.
No distraction. Put a hat on, put your head down and work. That's it.
But now seriously, because Celeste, you and Cheryl are attractive women, and if you're faced with a situation like that, and you live in a state like Iowa, like what the hell do you do? I mean, how does that not just affect you, but other career women like you who thinking, I got to pay my bills, I got shit to do, I've got my future ahead of me, and somebody, because I didn't want to give them any, is telling me, sorry, your services are no longer needed.
Cheryl, you want to handle it first? Because I still got a couple of more jokes in me.
Let us say the joke. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Take that money maker. Take the money maker.
Wow.
At first, I ain't gonna be in Iowa. I'll tell you that right now. You hear I'm in Iowa?
That won't
Reggie,
be one of my
somebody to dump me in a truck and drag me out there. I ain't going to Iowa now. Okay.
Nah, I ain't going either. They can have Iowa. The things that come out of Iowa is just too much. Wow.
You know, Mike, that's
I'm
hard because we deal with it, right, Cheryl?
Huh?
We deal with this all the time. I mean, you know, men come.
Well,
you wouldn't believe some of the stuff that men say to you.
Yeah, well, I happen to be a little chesty, and men tend to don't look at me in my face, and I say, my face is up here, not down there.
Yeah. I ain't saying a word.
You know, and then you have some that just drool, and I just say stuff like, "You must have never been breastfed."
Wait a minute, my face is up here. Stop looking down.
I would say up here.
Yeah, my face is up here, not down here. Look at my face. Stay with me. Stay with me. Stay with me.
That too.
I've dealt with it for most of my life, so
I can attest to that.
You just get used to it. You get used to it.
You just know,
and you just come back with a snappy comeback, and then they look stupid and they go on about their business.
That's right.
Yeah.
You just learn how to deal with it. You just have a way of letting them know that you know where they're looking, and you know we know. I mean, there's sometimes where I have to deal with a fool.
Yep.
And we have learned over through the years. You learn how to deal. You know, there are assholes and there's jackasses and there's some that just don't know where to look,
what to say, or what to say.
Exactly.
Those are what say. It's okay. It's okay, baby. It's all right. And then sometimes you got to have a little escort. I mean, that's how I met you, Mike. Mike helped me out. Okay, I was dancing. You remember the Mad Bumper?
I remember the Mad Bumper.
Sure, remember how they always want a front bump. They always want a front bump. Boy, I was dancing all around that floor. I got caught up with that fool, and Mike came to the rescue.
That's right.
Sometimes it's either going to be a knee to a crotch or a good brother going to help you out. Okay?
Yes.
That's how it is. You learn how to deal with certain situations.
I have something to say. Oh, you got a front and back. Wow, you blessed.
Yep.
Whatever. I tell them you have to be able to. You have to balance it off, brother. You have to balance it off.
But
they don't know what to say. They don't know what to say. Oh, okay.
That's right. You throw some brains in there, and that shuts them up. See, that's
that's where I want to go because that's the pivotal issue here. This woman was competent at what she did. So this wasn't like she was coming in with a low-cut blouse and all of this and whatnot and snuggling up to this cat and talking yang. She was doing her job, the job that she was hired to do. And on a whim, and let's call this like it is, he might have tried to get in that ass and she might have rebuffed him, for whatever the reason was. He didn't have the right to get into her shit like that. And
he fired her for being fine.
Exactly. He fired her literally for being fine. And
he
because
fired her because he couldn't handle it.
Hold on, Celeste. He not only fired her for all the things that you just said, he fired her knowing that she had no legal recourse because in a right-to-work state, he could do whatever the fuck he wanted. If that had been a dental office in Newark or Philly or New York or anywhere along
Jersey is right to work, too.
Oh, wait a minute. Jersey's right to work? No. Since when?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Left and right.
I'm
Kiss
pretty
my
sure.
ass at Macy's window. No.
We know Virginia's right.
Well, I will amend that. In New York or Philly, he couldn't have got away with that shit.
But the fact that dentist.
Hey, that's
there you go. That's him now. That's him now trying. See, That's him calling now, trying to get. We want to give you your side of the story, you son of a bitch. 718-508-9216. Don't be calling Reggie. Call up here.
He's trying to cross the story right now.
He's trying to call Reggie to clean it up and whatnot. See Reggie run interference for him and shit.
He's probably a Cowboy fan too.
You know that? Oh, that's the
Hey, where's the mittens around me? I have no response.
There you go.
That's all right. We still love you.
I can't buy the White House.
I don't have to worry. If I don't have a snappy comeback, Celeste got my back.
I know, girl. We got it. But you know what? All jokes aside, I got a few more, but you know, I don't think you guys realize on a daily basis the different hats we got to put on.
No, I've seen it. Trust me, I've seen it.
We have
God bless
to.
You.
I mean, sometimes I just come in and sit down and I have to breathe.
Yeah.
And cry.
And yeah. I work at a college and I see some of the young sisters come in and their self-esteem is all balled up and twisted up and, you know, sometimes I got to suck it in because you can't show emotion. They don't want us to hug the students. And I think I mentioned this before. A lot of the students haven't been nurtured. So when they see someone who's open to them, they want to hug. And, you know, Cheryl and I are talking about being busty, which can be pretty cool if you know how to handle it, okay? Excuse the pun.
I'm enjoying this conversation. I'm taking notes, Mike.
but I have some young sisters who come in. First of all, they don't know how to put them in the right place, right, Cheryl? You know what I'm saying?
Yes. They don't know how to defend themselves.
They don't, and they don't know how to dress to keep them where they should be.
There you go.
Where they should be.
That's
okay.
a separate subject altogether. Yep.
Yeah, because they haven't been taught. And
they look at them videos. That's why they do it.
Well,
that's part of the truth.
It's a conversation I don't think you brothers are ready for. You know,
come on.
I don't think you
want
guys.
Want to bet? I'm taking notes. Keep talking.
but then
let the ladies have the show, Mike. Stand down.
Stop, guys. You have to, I see some of them. They walk hunched over. They try to hide themselves.
Yeah.
You know
what?
It is. Oh, yeah. It's true.
Can you explain
hunch,
that to
right?
me?
Sure. They hunch themselves because they're trying to hide themselves. They've only been looked at by being sexualized. Okay?
Exactly.
See, we're grown. We can get on here. We can talk and laugh and everything, but we know we can handle our business. Okay?
Yes,
we know how to handle it. But there's some of our young people, some of the young sisters, what they see out there, some of them can't, you know, hey, they not gorgeous. They don't feel gorgeous. Okay? So when someone does look at them, they're trying to think on the dime. Does this person really like me? Or is this person looking at a part of me? See, this is what we carry with us.
Yeah.
So, you know, sometimes sister will look good and everything, so she's got to think, okay, where am I going? All right, if I'm going here, am I going to a holiday party? Am I going to church? Am I going, you know, to work? Or am I just going to kick it with my friends? There are appropriate and inappropriate ways that we have to dress for each thing. Okay.
That's true.
I got a quick question. I got a quick question to ask you.
Okay. Go ahead, Reggie.
No offense, but I've been seeing some young girls, 250 and above, wearing these tight dresses. I'm talking about mini dresses and scared to bend over, pick up anything. Now, I mean,
no, they're not scared to bend over. They bend over.
They sure do.
200, 250, 5'1".
That's right.
I mean, help me understand the philosophy that when you about 5'1", 220, 250, and you got a tight dress with you bending over and showing what
because
the
some of them, their image of you'd be amazed. Some of them will walk it out. They will walk it out, say, look at me. You can't. I mean, there's some big girls out there, they strut their stuff, okay?
That's true.
And they make me feel like, what? Now this is when I'm taking it back to the college level. I've pulled a couple of them aside. I said, look, you are not at the club.
There you go.
Leggings and tights have ruined a lot of sisters. I don't know. I have called them to the side. Look,
I don't know.
Leggings, you should have something over it, and tights are not leggings. Okay.
Demon spandex, testify.
Spandex, Lord Jesus.
What the lollipop chilies used to wear underneath their uniform? They call them lollipops, these little shorts or whatever.
No, I don't know about no lollipops now. What's she trying to tell us about now?
No, I'm talking about the shorts. No, I'm serious. No, I'm serious. A lot of female cheerleaders.
Cheryl, do you have a lollipop? I don't have a lollipop.
I don't know what a lollipop is. So
it sounds like somebody was stuck on something, but I digress.
Wait a minute, let's be quiet and let him describe this to us.
No, I'm saying the cheerleaders back in the day in the 60s and 70s would wear shorts. They would call them lollipops.
No,
whenever they jump up
that must be a southern thing.
Oh, Gary chiming in, so it must be true. I hear Gary.
Cover up the accent.
She keeping looking at them cheerleaders, them cowboy cheerleaders too much.
Hey, baby. That's HBCU cheerleaders. God bless them.
I was gonna say make that them skinny ass cowboy cheerleaders, but I digress.
Hey, I could kill us by them. I look at the heavyweights, Norfolk State, Virginia State.
Oh, part of your program.
Oh yeah.
No,
yes, Lord.
thickness. You're supposed to say thickness, not heavyweight.
We ain't come Sunday times for nothing.
Wow.
All right, well, wait a minute,
hold on. Track. No, it's not right to be fired because you're fine. Okay?
That's right, yeah.
He should have been put on blast because he didn't know how to handle it. He didn't know how to control it. There was a lack of control in that dental office. So that means any fine woman coming to get her teeth cleaned or getting a root canal, he going to get excited. Oh, you can't come in here because you too fine. I can't work on you. I can't handle it.
That's exactly right. Now, see, but this is where it gets hypocritical because you would think. Hold on, let me finish, please. Because when something like this hits the fan, you're thinking, okay, this is an equal rights issue because if you're qualified to do a job, you should have the right to do it, especially if you're hired to do it. So where are all these women's organizations? Where's now to step in to intercede on this woman's behalf? See, they've been emasculated, for lack of a better way of putting it, because they can't speak on behalf of us because right to work states indicate that he's entitled, and the Supreme Court in his state backs him the fuck up. Now, Iowa happens to be one of 24 right to work states in our country. Now, we know usually along our eastern corridor usually is a Union stronghold there. Michigan, which is under siege right now, is not a Union stronghold anymore. Well, it is, but I'm just saying they're fighting right to work that's been forced upon them by their crooked-ass governor. So these laws are made, if anything else, to subjugate women because if it works in Iowa, you better believe somebody's going to try it in North Kakalaki or Virginia or anywhere else where the situation will fit itself.
But Mike, I take affront.
Please do.
To this, where were these women's groups? Do you know what we just came through during the election? Do you know what kind of foolishness we just came through?
I know. That's exactly what I'm bringing up.
We've been fighting birth control. We've been fighting abortion. We've been fighting women being beat.
Invasive, ultrasound, all kinds
of
shit.
If we can't, you need a probe to take. I mean, come on, Mike. I mean, there's just like our president. There's but so much marching and talking and standing up you can do. Right now, the women's group. I'm sorry, they couldn't help out the fine woman. Okay, but look what they did to the young lady from Georgetown. Bright woman. What's her name?
Thank you.
Susan
Limbaugh slut.
And that man, that little punk, he gonna sit on the air and
that's right.
Just strip her down. Women's groups did stand up. So
that's exactly right.
Sometimes we got to be careful when we
We have to pick our battles.
Yes.
We have to pick our battles.
I agree
with being too pretty is not a major battle, right? That's not a major battle.
No,
it is a battle. It is a battle for her rights.
It's a battle, yes.
But more things that are more important
Yeah.
that needs to be addressed and needs to be watched and needs to be
Cheryl,
by these
Cheryl,
women groups.
in
But
that
Donna
spirit,
Brazil was
Cheryl.
upset because he didn't stand up for Dr. Rice. Remember, Donna Brazil went on the way, and she really laid President Obama out. She said, I am angry because you did not back Dr. Rice for Secretary of State.
Exactly.
And there was
exactly.
two women groups stood up and said they were angry about it. On Ronald Martin show, Washington Watch, they talked about it.
Well,
That's
see,
true.
this my spiel wasn't
But-
so much to hold on, Cheryl.
But the thought about that is she didn't want him to have to go through that to get her in there. He already had enough problems, and I commend her for being that strong on
But
her
she
woman.
wanted that job.
Yeah,
though.
she bailed. Frankly, she bailed his ass out, Cheryl. She bailed his ass out for real.
She wanted that job, and
Yeah, she
he
did.
wanted her to have that job. But when they realized they had, like you say, you have to pick your battles. You have to weigh your odds. They would have made it impossible. It would have took a lot of time and money and everything, and
That's
they
right.
still wouldn't have let her in.
That's exactly right.
Why,
No, you're
and
right.
Why make him go through that? He's already gone through enough. And she realized that. She said, I love my president enough. I'm going to step down.
Yeah,
Exactly.
she'll get hers. She may not get that,
Exactly.
but she'll get her. I mean, look what they did to Hillary. The woman got sick, fell down and banged her head, and Republicans dogged her out. Tried to say, that's basically she wasn't sick. She faked it.
Yep.
Now, this woman has been all around the world multiple times in situations an average person would not want to be in.
Cleaning up people's bullshit.
A woman cannot get sick. She got sick. I mean, at least she wasn't like the president threw up in the Japanese prime minister's lap a couple years ago.
That's right.
Okay.
Well, don't you know you're supposed to bring home the bacon and fry it up in the pan and all that shit? Because you
women got to do everything. I mean, sometimes I sit back one. Yeah, we had a group of young ladies. I deal with a group of, you would say, from 17 to about 24 years old. And we were just breaking down all the different jobs that a woman will do. We filled up that blackboard.
I know that.
Because
I believe
there's
it.
so many things you have to do. And sometimes, you have to, we don't even feel we have a right to get tired. Like Hillary had to pass out, get a concussion before she sat down.
That's right.
Okay.
I heard that.
Bill was out there fooling around, had a heart attack, and everything was fine. It's okay.
Between blowjobs, of course.
Well, yeah, but I guess that's why he blew his heart out. But that's another story.
Keep it coming. Keep it serious. Roll the days, ladies. Hey, wait for 2013. Wow.
The girlfriend got sick, got the flu, the virus, or whatever, threw up, passed out, and banged her head, and the men stood up and dogged her out. Okay.
Hold on. All right, so let's hold on a second, because this is where you just tied in a few ends. You and Cheryl did, because this goes back to Miss Fine out there in Iowa. We're talking about Miss Fine. Forgive me because I don't know her name. Susan Rice, the woman who is sitting in prison right now because she supposedly stole $15,000 in education for a kid because she wanted the kid to move to a better school district, and they tried to say that she violated the law.
Yeah.
All of these things tie into one thing. This is subjugation of women. This is class warfare in its finest form. Because if they can win battles like this, and I agree with you 1,000%, Susan Rice did our country a service.
Yes, she did.
By stepping off the way she did, because she knows with Congress spending over $900,000 a day of our money to bullshit us and mess around with this crap, we know between them and the mainstream media, just like we saw in the election, as Gary Gray so accurately predicted, this would have been one large clusterfuck. They'd have been on TV with this bullshit. The Rice hearings continue, and they would have been
all day long.
Exactly.
They get ready to take their own boy out, Hagel. They get ready to take him out, and he's a Republican because McCain don't like him.
Exactly. This is going to be foghorn leghorn bullshit. Pay attention, boy. They're going to be out there gesticulating in front of everybody, spending our money and wasting our fucking money. That nonsense that Boehner and them pulled, that took 5 or 6 days. You multiply that by the $900,000 it costs Congress to run on a daily basis. That's $4.5 million right there. Like I said, you don't have to agree with the politics, but the numbers.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. The numbers you can agree, you can disagree on politics, but the numbers don't fucking lie, and that's money out of everybody's pocket.
But they don't give a shit. And then the thing about it is people have to realize, see, these Republicans don't think they can lose their seats. If you get your ass out there and vote, because a lot of their seats are coming out, you'll show them that who you want in there, and you get rid of their asses, because they don't think they can be replaced. They can't. It's elections coming up. All you got to do is get up and vote. And then when he ain't in office and Boehner ain't in charge of the House, then it's a whole new ball game. A lot of the seats are coming up for election. And you best believe I'm voting, because I can't stand my governor.
Oh, that's I'm surprised they didn't take him down with Penn State.
Well, don't worry about him. We got plans.
It's coming. It's coming.
We got plans for his ass, because Penn State's madness has not ended by any stretch of the imagination.
It's just they just unearthing a lot of stuff. It's just gone. It's just gone.
But before we switch off on this particular subject, I want to just bring something back to the fore with you guys here, because I want you to see just how bad this is, and that woman in Iowa has kinship with sisters in the motherland. Now, this just came in, and as I was looking, as we do on our download segment, stuff that pops up that makes you just go, WTF? That's exactly what one of these things are. Apparently, Swaziland police have banned women from wearing miniskirts, crop tops, and low-slung jeans. Now, according to the Daily Mail, hold it, get this. According to the Daily Mail, outfits apparently encourage rape, according to these police, and they resurrected a law from 1889. Let me say that again.
My God.
They resurrected a law from 1889 to prevent women from wearing clothes that expose their bodies. Now, this is in response to a protest that was led by young women, some who were wearing miniskirts, who were seeking equal rights and safety. Meanwhile, in India, a woman who was considered an untouchable was raped, gang raped by a bunch of motherfuckers.
1 hour.
1 hour. See?
And then they threw her off the bus like she was garbage.
There you go.
Wow.
There you go. So now you know where I'm going with all of this. Even though nothing happened to that woman in Iowa, that was to the degree of what happened to that sister in India, the bottom line remains the same. Women are considered second class. Discard them. If you can't fuck them, if you can't abuse them and whatnot, who needs them? You know? And that's
like
the issue here. That's what resounds.
That's like a J-man.
That's what I said. But that's what resounds in this Iowa issue. And that's why, although I know you need to pick battles, this is part of a long-standing skirmish. And this is not something, and this is what Americans are missing, because Americans don't look past their own borders unless they've been out of those borders or they're enlightened to some degree.
I don't think you understand. I'm trying to get this across to you brothers. You don't understand that we live it.
I know what you're saying. I know that much.
Even though a woman's group doesn't stand up, and you don't know, I work within the college system with our young people, with our young women, to let them know what is right. I mean, good touch, bad touch, on a college level.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, look, we can take it even further. You see what happened to that young girl at Notre Dame?
Yep.
Where that football player raped her, she reported, and she killed herself?
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
We didn't even have a chance to touch on that, Celeste, but damn right. Go ahead. So that's right. Yep.
I want to see the men's group jump up and march against this mess.
Exactly. I agree.
I shouldn't have to be defending my young girls against men who think it's their right to treat them like they're their slaves. Okay?
Exactly.
So although this woman, I'm sure she has to deal with this mess on a daily basis. Yeah, we laughed and everything. I know this is painful to her. You don't walk up in the dentist office and get a job unless you studied. But
exactly.
it can't, look, the women can't be protecting ourselves and fighting for ourselves, and the men keep coming, but y'all want us to stand up and the women's group got to defend this. No, y'all zip your pants and take a pill so that you don't get up. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
What's the reverse of Viagra? If you can't handle yourself or don't have a good woman to take care of you, don't expect me to go out there marching all the time. I got to cook, I got to clean, I got to teach, I got babies to take. I mean, come on, what else do you want me to do?
And you got to watch the Eagles game on Sunday.
No, I don't have to do that.
No, that's tragic.
I don't have to do that.
Now, but here's my question. What about the gay women who be pushing up on women too? Now, I mean, we live in a different society now. That's an unwritten truth.
Look, one of my best friends is a gay woman, and you don't know about the violence in the gay community. Okay, so I mean, one of the sweetest women, but they, you know, we have these conversations all the time because maybe because they haven't dealt a male to woman, but they have their own issues.
They do.
And we too often expect different groups or different classes that got to stand up and fight for all this other stuff. Like early in the year when the Penn State stuff jumped off, it was how come the gays didn't jump up? Gays ain't got nothing to do with a pervert.
That's right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Look, what did President Obama go through?
We are adults. We are intelligent. You know what's right and what's wrong. But I, as a woman, and I know Cheryl knows, I can't jump up for everybody. I can't. I'm too tired.
Amen.
I'm too tired. So all I'm saying is, no, it wasn't right. Yeah, they can take. But Cheryl, we live this every day. And being a black woman too. Are you kidding me?
God forbid, you got some intelligence, because really I'm supposed to be like the dumb blonde. When I open my mouth and start articulating about politics and sports and stuff, I didn't know you were smart.
Yeah. I don't know how to dummy down. I got 4 brothers. I never learned how to dummy down. Okay?
God bless you.
I can't do it, you know? And if I don't know it, I'm going to take the time to sit down. And that's why I'm still going to school. I can go to school for free. I'd be a damn fool if I didn't take advantage of it.
Hello. There you go.
Ashe.
How'd you like to adopt a 58-year-old black man so I can go to school?
Hey, Mike, I already got one.
I know that's right. Hold on, because, you know, Gary hasn't had a chance to throw anything in the pot, and he threw something significant in there because he said, you know, that's also the fate of the disabled in some of the things that you've been touching on. Go ahead, Jay.
Well, if the community or the America can't use you, it's like, goodbye, we don't need you. Forget about us.
Yep.
And the one thing about the women's group and the gay group, they did not deal with the issue of racism.
That's true.
Yes.
That's true.
They were women. When the movement first started, it was all Caucasian.
That's right. And let's be real. The movement was to benefit white women. It wasn't to benefit black women. You know,
got that right.
When Shirley Chisholm was running for president, where were these women's organizations? Where were all the well-named feminists who had written their books and were burning their bras and shit? They weren't the fuck to be found. Exactly. So in the midst of all of this drama, the racism variable really does come into play because, as we were talking about that woman in Iowa who may well be white, that black woman is in jail because she wanted to get her son a better education.
That's right.
They literally arrested her for stealing what they thought was $15,000. They put a number on it, $15,000 worth of education, and she's in jail because she's poor and black.
Wow.
You know, this is madness.
Wow.
They sure did. And white people have been doing it for years. Oh, my brother lives in a better area, so I'm going to use his address. They've been doing it for years. But now we done got hip to it. Oh, no, niggas, y'all can't do that. Only y'all.
That's right.
It just happened up here. What is the...
That is what they call privilege.
Yeah.
That's straight up privilege. They can do it, but we can't do it.
Professor, you were going to say?
First of all, I want to compliment Cheryl and Celeste because as the stepfather of a daughter and 2.5 goddaughters, I've been through this conversation before.
Tell me, I raised 3 girls.
And I work in and around a lot of HBCUs, and I've seen all the stuff. And because some years ago, the young lady who was being actually pushed up on by this one of the instructors at a school that shall remain nameless at this point, because we handled it. But the thing was, she thought she was helpless, defenseless, and all those other things you want to name. And well, I'll go talk to him for you. He was like, no. I said, no, I'm going to talk to him for you, but you're not going to know anything about it because I'm not telling you. And I commend them for the fact that they take time to talk to these young ladies, because a lot of them do get their marching orders and examples from the videos and all those kind of things, which are wrong. And I think a lot of times we as a society get literally sucked in by a lot of this craziness because it's aimed at us to destroy us. And because of that, we end up with young ladies who think, I got to go to class with my boobs out, skirt up, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Versus, open the book instead of watching the videos, and do what you can do. And, all things, kids now have such poor study habits. It's just, it's really bad.
That's
and
true.
These jerks are out there talking about reducing the amount of money spent on education. They should be increasing it. But we this is one of the things that, if you've ever read the book, The Jewish Phenomenon, one of the things they talk about is taking care of your own. This is one of those take care of your own situation. And that's why I'm commending these young ladies for the kinds of things they're talking about. Because, see, one of the things in Gary went to Southern Illinois, so I had to give this back to the Cowboy fan.
Yeah, we know.
Whatever.
They all look alike.
Whatever.
But when you look at this, when you look at this from the big picture perspective, this is where those people on our campuses will tell you, like, son, just hold on a minute. I need to talk to you. Lady,
exactly.
Hold up a minute. I was jacked up by this little Jamaican dude who was about 5'4", and I'm slightly over 6 feet. And I was, at the time, I was on the wrestling team at Winston-Salem State, and homeboy jacked me up for real because of something I did that was bad. It was because it was not to the standard he thought I could do. And, it was like, okay, you get it right. And, and we can go back and appreciate those things. And, with some of those young ladies, you're going to have to be proactive with them, because you got, if they're not getting it at home, this is why we have the Lincoln University. I think one of the ladies works at Lincoln. There's a young lady that I've
Cheryl's a Lincoln grad.
Okay, I mentored a young lady from Lincoln over the basically over the internet. We physically met 4 times, but we talked back and forth over the internet. And she put something on her Facebook page, and I didn't know whether she was in class, in practice, or what. But I sent her an email. You got 5 minutes to get that off. And I explained to her, because this ain't going to just, if it stays on there long enough, it ain't going to just disappear. It's going to stay out there. And, this is a young lady who's doing very well in school. But she has friends who influence her, and this was there you go. Posted with her friends. And, and we got to be proactive on this. And so far as the women's groups, if they don't say black, most of them are not for blacks. I'm just sorry.
No,
and I've gone, I'm old enough to remember all the different ones who were out there, and I respect some and some I don't. But I think the big picture here is, we got to take care of our own, and we got to take time, and whatever effort necessary to talk to our young men and young women, because, see, one of the things I used to tell my ex about my son, if he asked you a question about how women feel and how this feels to a woman and this sort of thing, tell him, because I am a male, and I always say it this way: if most women knew the bull crap men told each other about them, you know, first they would call it exes, and then they would probably get an M16 or whatever, because we pass more dumb crap about men, pass more dumb crap about women to other men as information and education.
Most definitely.
And part of the problem is women won't speak up to us and tell us, you girl talk, but you won't talk to us and tell us, fool, you're wrong. We don't like that. We don't feel like that. You know, get your act together, because, you know, I had a young lady tell me that she didn't want me telling her daughter what I was telling my daughter, that some guy attacks her. Well, guess whose daughter got attacked? It was not mine.
Big Fred, you hitting on some sore spots now, because I can tell you from dating women who had kids, you know, they tell you they want somebody to help them and whatnot, and then you try to intercede. Don't you touch my baby, you know, and it ain't even about physically touching them, as it is trying to impart home training. But you gave me a great segue. I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, because this is the spirit of Umoja, as our 7 principles for Kwanzaa are being manifested in front of us here on our radio stage, I want everybody to go back into their memory banks and tell me the first time where they went from young adult to old head and imparting homeschooling or home training on someone or a situation of that ilk. We're going to take a quick break and pop in right back. Sultry Radio most definitely is in the raw. Yes, indeedy. Ruby Andrews. Some good stuff from back in the day. I see Cheryl bopped out. Bop back in when you get a chance, baby. We got a few minutes left. We are in the strength of Sultry Radio in the Raw, and we are talking about home training and picking up on the principle of unity that Professor Fred touched on early on. Now, I know I can remember myself being introduced to my 2 beautiful daughters, Nikki and Leah, and being in their lives and whatnot, and having grown up with them and raising them, I became an old head. But the clearest indication of when I was an old head was in '96, when I was asked to speak at schools across British Columbia. This was the year that Atlanta had won the rights to the Olympic Games, and they were flying that damn bars and stars bullshit. And I was there trying to make the kids understand what the bars and stars really was about, or stars and bars really was about, and why the Olympic Games and the spirit of it has been politicized. And I couldn't believe how many times I was going to school, because I was only supposed to appear in one school. I ended up appearing in 24 different schools. And the enormity of that and just being exhausted of it, all that damn talking made me realize, this ain't no thing. And how my daughters looked at me after that made me understand, all right, no matter what, you're in for the long haul with these young ladies, and they've turned out to be exceptional women. So that's the really most obvious time that, all right, I'm an old head now, time to impart some wisdom and make my actions match those things that I did. So I want to go up the ladder, starting with Cheryl first. Cheryl, when did you have to do your home training thing? The first evident time that you can recall where it was like, okay, this is what I got to do.
I realized it when my daughter just told me like a month ago that everything that she is, everything that she became, and how I never had any problems with my children. My son, so he's not here with us. My son was the best at what he did, and my daughter turned around and said, Mommy, it is because of you. We are what we are, and we accomplished what I did, that it brought me to tears. I am a reflection of you. Though you didn't finish your education, you lived through us, and if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be opening a daycare. I wouldn't have got through Lincoln University.
There you go.
That's when my old head really hit in. I've been told by my family and friends that I was a great mother, but to hear it come from your child, it's priceless.
Testify.
All the
there you go.
That I did as a single parent to raise her and her brother, because they had everything everybody else had.
Yep. There you go. Celeste.
I've been thinking about this. I think it's just something I've always done, and I didn't realize it until
you are nurturer.
I got older, and friends that I had in high school, and then my children's friends, I was always the halfway house. Someone's kid got kicked out, they were at my house. Somebody was hungry, they were at my house. I didn't realize what I was doing. It was just second nature to me. And it always kind of confused me. I had a neighbor downstairs from me that kids were hungry. Every time like dinner time, they were always at the door. And then their mother came upstairs one day and told them they had to come downstairs, and they were not to come upstairs anymore because she was caught up in her own life and she forgot about their life.
Yeah.
So there are little things you do. Even at work, I work for a major corporation. I had the opportunity to hire about 35 untrained. This is when we had the welfare to work, And, I mean, these folks were coming in raw. So it was my responsibility to make them understand work culture.
Yeah.
Clothing came into play. We had some people who live in Newark, which is on a train ride, maybe 15 minutes outside New York, had never been into New York.
That's right.
So a lot of things we take for granted. You have to know the right tone, the right attitude, the right words to explain to them how to do and how not to do. And it was my obligation. And I was really proud that out of that 35, I would say about 20 of them hung in there.
Way to go, baby.
And they just have all grown, and everybody, the one thing I requested of them, they had to continue their education. And a lot of them have gone further than me. But that's walking it and talking it, because they had to see me doing it too.
Most definitely. Cheryl, I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you finish what you were saying?
Yeah, my house was like that. All the kids in my house. I mean, my daughter's friends appreciate me. Sometimes I come home from work and they cook dinner for me. Clean the kitchen because my house was that safe haven. My son was 10 years older than her friends, so they knew Sean was going to make sure everything was fine, that they were safe, and they could come to my house at any time. To get that, what they need. I had one of my daughter's friends. Her mom was never home. That child ate out of Chinese restaurants every day till her and Danielle became really close. And it was a fact that this young lady I knew was going to have dinner with us every day.
Yeah, for real.
And it touches your heart when you see these kids grow up and they say, Miss Shaw, I remember the meal. I remember I was here and had fried some chicken for you when you came home from work. They were cleaning vacuum, little things that wouldn't mean a lot, but to a tired mom that put in long hours and come home and you don't have to do anything, it does touch your heart. It does touch
Most
your
definitely.
heart. And I've been like that and giving back and tutoring young kids in the hood when I was in high school and college. I've always thought that children were so important. And that nurturing that these new kind of parents believe their child don't need, they really do. They need to be validated that they're important. And
that's
that
true.
what accomplishments they do, even the littlest things, something you're worth something. A lot of these kids don't think they're worth anything, and it is that. If I could take them all home and nurture them and take them in, and I would. I would.
Most definitely. Gary?
I was called the counselor. I was in 12th grade high school. Everybody in the whole high school would come to me for all kind of reasons. It amazed me. Gary know what to do. I was only 18 years old, but my
See, you knew you was Mr. Big even before then. Wow. Reggie?
Well, when I was approached by my church being a Presbyterian, they asked me to be an elder. And I never forgot the first time in a meeting, we had to sit down and talk about a young lady who stole money. And she was a secretary in the church. And I told them, I said, well, you guys worrying about these ladies stealing the money, but we don't have banisters up for the ladies to walk them down the pulpit. They got to walk high heels and almost fall down. And I would break my neck to get up there and make sure I held my hand out, because anytime a lady comes down the steps, she should be accompanied by a male to make sure she doesn't fall. That's just where I was brought up, just like open the car door to make sure the ladies get in first. And you'd be surprised how many women. I had one lady grab my hand and say, don't do that. And I'm like, wow. That's why I'm passionate the way I am when I talk about, the craziness of what women do. And to our two beautiful queens, I love you, and I stand and I bow to your greatness, because today's conversation has really opened my eyes to a whole lot of situations. I know what you go through, because I see it each and every day. So you'd be surprised. Just something will open the door for a person. People who are so used to being independent don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah, it's like taking compliments. Yeah, that's a separate conversation altogether. Fred?
Well, because due in great part because my parents were deceased before I graduated from high school, and then I started taking care of my father somewhere around 12, 13 years old. Excuse me. I hung out with my uncle, and my uncle had grandchildren my age, actually older. And so I kind of got a different spin on life. My adolescence was totally different from most of my peers. And at various times, I was always the one thing people want to talk to. I'd see my parents talk to people in the community, people coming in the middle of the night, talk to my parents, and, they would advise me and everything. And one day, sort of out of the blue, all of a sudden it was me. And, I help raise my brothers and sisters' kids. I sometimes say I flunk fatherhood with my own kids, but, because I wasn't there for them a lot of time because of a lot of craziness in my life. But at the same time, college, and the one thing that really sticks out is today, because when I was a volunteer coach at Fayetteville State back in like 89 to about 93, it's almost a sacrilege if I don't show. I'll start getting, as soon as they post when Fayetteville State's homecoming is, I'll start getting messages, Coach, you're going to be at homecoming. And I have a bond with mostly young ladies, some guys who played sports there, because back then I was really just at time their games. But in that setting, I was able to impart a lot of wisdom to a point where I don't pay for stuff when I'm around them. They look out for me and they tell me how much they appreciate the time I spent with them. And I guess that's where I started, really recognize, okay, the script has flipped now because I'm the uncle and big brother that I used to turn to, and it's quite refreshing, and even to my brothers and sisters' kids, because a lot of them were my age, but they looked up to me as their uncle, and I said it's funny because I have one niece who thoroughly looks up to me as her uncle, and I look up to her as my big sister because she's 10 years older than me. And her brother, who's deceased, but he was 8 years older. And, and my friends, my peers in school, because I never went to school with my brothers and sisters. My peers in school thought those two were my brother and sister until the last maybe 10, 15 years. But it's about being. It's always, for me, it's always been about being there for each other. If you're around me very long, you hear me say, if we're not here for each other, why are we here?
Excellent point.
Ashe,
indeed. I think that's a beautiful place to leave the discourse for now. We got a lot done in a short amount of time, like we always do on this show. And as always, I am thankful for my panel for coming in and stirring the pot and throwing in some good food for thought for everybody out there. And we are at the stage where it is time for everybody's last licks and shameless plugs. And since Fred finished that point off so nicely, Fred, you get to start it off.
Well, let's see. I'll be at Kwanzaa at Fayetteville at the Smith Center on Saturday. I will be signing books.
All right.
Signing books from 5 to 8 o'clock at the Smith Center at Seabrook Park. And also now available, the Black College Sports Encyclopedia, and someone who shall remain nameless, anytime. And let's see. Also, if you want to buy copies of a Fayetteville Profile in Black, just go to my website or any of my material, because it's about to explode with 2 other books in the very near future. My website is blackheritagereview.com. And one other thing, if anybody knows anything about the former all-black high schools in North Carolina, hit up on Facebook, Fred Whitted on Facebook, because they're looking for a lot. We've got a lot of gaps that we're trying to fill.
All righty. Black Heritage Review, the Black College Sports Encyclopedia. We are all bought copies, and Fred signed them all. Yes, he did. So good stuff. Reggie, time for your shameless plug, and don't you say a damn thing about them Cowboys.
Well, first I want to thank Mike and this illustrious panel, and again to my 2 queens. I bow down to your greatness. Anytime we have our queens, then we always have to stand down and give them love. So my queens, thank you so much for your contribution. I just want to say that 2 quick points. One, I think it's time that high schools need to start looking at their insurance for catastrophic injuries of our athletes, whether it be male or female.
Good point.
I mean, a lot of people don't talk about this, but you'd be trying how many single parents out there will have to either go try to get insurance or go bankrupt because their son or daughter has catastrophe when it comes to sports accidents, and the high school's off the hook. follow up to that, it's time for America to have an Emmett Till moment when it comes to these shoots. I want them to go out there and have pictures of that Bushmaster that did that damage up there in Connecticut.
Thank you. That's right.
And I'm going to grab that from Joe Madison and Bright Eagle talked about that. I'm rolling them on the Washington Watch. It's time for them. If they want to show it, they did Emmett Till, then just talk about the youth. And ladies and gentlemen, what I'm about to say is going to make people a little sick, but it got to be said. Some of those youth heads were blown off. Some of the teachers back in the neck were blown off. We need to have pictures of that so you can see what these automatic weapons do. Maybe some of these people in Congress, both parties, again, I have no cut cards. I can't stand Democrats, can't stand Republicans, but I'm going to put up as whoever it be at. We need to put that out there front and center. People can see what these assault weapons do, and maybe somebody get the yell off their backs as we do move forward. 1450 FM radio with the Professor Tony Cobb, the Psychiatric Glenn Brown, and some guy named Cowboy Reggie, and of course, Hall of Fame Coach Lou Anderson, every Saturday from 12 to 1 on 1450 FM radio.
That's WCLM online, y'all. And there is no logical, sane, insane argument that would ever make sense for anyone owning an automatic or semi-automatic weapon. I'm in total support with you on that, Reggie. Buy all the guns you want, rifles, pistols, whatever.
I spoke already.
Yes, sir.
Show them pictures of some of these veterans who are coming back here with body parts blown off, like 1847 and all this other stuff. That's real, too, and they're not being addressed.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right, Fred. Ashe, Fred. Gary, come on, throw something in the pot for your last licks.
We have to help our disabled veterans going home because they're going home. They don't have a job. They don't have an arm or leg. Now, we have to really support these men and women all over America because America is not doing them right. Support your Afghanistan and Iraqi veterans every day. Send money to them and give them support.
Most definitely. Plug for your show, Gary.
Well, in 1 or 2 weeks, the Grand will return, and we will do a Martin Luther King special, Life of Times. Martin Luther King, what has done to America the past 40 years.
Thank you, brother. And I would also add to what you just said, the brothers and sisters who fought for us from the Vietnam War who were still affected by Agent Orange even now. We briefly touched on that on one of our shows. Get it right. Take care of those who kick ass for us. Cheryl, it's your turn, sweetheart.
I'm just going to make a shameless plug for my daughter's little college early learning center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. 2010 Wall Street. We're open from 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 in the evening. This is an early learning center. We take kids from 18 months to 12 years old after school and morning school care. So I'm just going to give that shameless plug here.
There you go. And send me some copies. Give me some copy for that next time so we can do one on the air for you.
Okay.
All right. And
I forgot to get the phone number.
All right, give me the phone number.
Go ahead, girl.
Get it right.
342-9500.
That's right. And ain't nobody going to get arrested or fired because they fine. So we take care of our own in Pennsylvania. We stop. Celestial, it's your turn, baby.
Okay, you forgot to mention one nut, the head of the NRA. So
Oh yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that fool was on Meet the Press, and the man was showing him a clip, and he said it didn't mean nothing. It didn't mean nothing. One bullet, 100 bullets. But anyway, anybody have any common sense will know that it ain't right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I just want to wish everybody a happy new year. If this was a good year for you, I hope you have another good year. If whatever it is that, good health, that's the main thing. Stay with the spirit, and I just hope everybody has a happy, healty new year.
Yes, indeed. You can't argue with that. 13 is my lucky number, so I'm looking forward to 2013. Would you say, Cheryl?
I said that was a good one for last.
Okay. And I got that phone number for my folks in Philly, so.
Thank you.
Get girlfriend some business, y'all. Now, for my last lick tonight, this was inspired by insomnia, because I couldn't get my black ass to sleep, and as I do from time to time, I was watching C-SPAN. Now, C-SPAN has got to be the most versatile channel in the world, because if you really want to know what's going on in your damn government, this will tell you. But from time to time, they offer little documentaries and lectures on certain shit. And I just happened to turn on one where there were 4 authors talking about the assassination of, the murder of President Kennedy. And there were a couple that were coming from, yes, this is a conspiracy, and one trying to justify the bullshit that the Warren Commission came out with. And it was interesting. It was like 90 minutes or so. It was fairly spirited. There were some good points made, but I'm like, okay, it's 50 years. Whether you want to agree or not, if somebody keeps something from you for 50 motherfucking years, you bet damn Skippy it's a fucking conspiracy. regardless of what's involved. So it just that flashback reminded me to where I was in 4th grade playing softball, recess being called in, and hearing that redneck Mr. Frank saying, "Mr. President Kennedy has been assassinated." And he was saying it with some conviction, because we knew he was to the right of Attila the Hun. But the fact that 50 years later, this is still out, and after looking at CSI and NCIS and every damn cop show in the world, if we just saw the normal procedure that they undergo in trying to solve a crime, that would also tell you something was funky down there in Dallas, and a major crime was committed, and we have been a banana republic since November 22nd of 1963. Just as we come out of this year being 300 years of Willie Lynch, when will the nonsense start on the 50th anniversary of the murder of a president of the United States? Just something to think about as we go into the new year. Y'all take care. We shall see you Saturday with our Saturday version from 2 to 4 Eastern. For myself, for Professor Fred Whitted, for Cowboy Reggie, for Sonic
We're
Cheryl.
going to win Sunday too, buddy.
Oh, shit. I knew you would say that.
Put it in.
Cut him off. Cut him off.
That's like, cut him off. That's like, smack him.
Cut him
Smack
off.
him, Cheryl. Smack him. For Professor Fred, for Gary Gray, and for Grandma Dynamite, Celeste Warren Kelly. Soul Tree Radio in the Raw. There you go.
See how they do you, Cheryl? They try to make you old. Put you on blast, put you old.
I know. That's right. I'm going to go put my teeth in the water as we speak.
Yeah, go put your teeth in the water. Look out for them Redskins when you're on the road there, bro.
That's right. That's right. There you go.
I'm going to roast some hog Sunday, boy. We're going to have a hog roast Sunday. I got my Texas teeth ready to go.
See, don't take that ass whipping personally, because you know it's coming.
Right.
We still love you.
I'll take it personally.
Yeah, we still love you.
Don't get beat down to the white meat this week.
On that note,
Soul Tree Radio in the Raw. We are most definitely out.